Meta recently committed $10 billion to build a massive new data center campus in Louisiana. Microsoft is putting $15 billion into the UAE specifically to secure the power capacity required to run artificial intelligence. The physical infrastructure needed to train modern AI models is expanding at a staggering rate. Anthropic projects that by 2027, training a single frontier AI model will require 5 gigawatts of continuous power. That is double the peak electricity demand of all of New York City. At this pace, the U.S. AI sector alone will require 50 gigawatts of new electric capacity by 2028. Compare that massive draw to the organ sitting inside your skull. The human brain performs an estimated 1 exaflop of computation. That's 1 quintillion operations every single second, using roughly 20 watts of power. It runs on the energy equivalent of a dim light bulb. To match that exact same exaflop of processing speed in silicon, you would need to build the Frontier supercomputer. That machine occupies almost 7,000 square feet, costs $600 million, and consumes 21 megawatts. The brain operates with a million-fold advantage in power efficiency. Tech companies are realizing that scaling up massive power grids is physically and financially unsustainable. To push computation further, capital is being forced to hunt for new, hyper-efficient physical substrates. The root of this energy crisis is a structural flaw in modern microchips known as the von Neumann bottleneck. In traditional silicon architecture, the unit that processes logic and the unit that stores memory are physically separated. Every time a calculation is made, data has to travel back and forth across this gap. Between 80 and 90% of a modern computer's energy isn't used to solve the math problem. It's spent purely on ferrying information across this physical bridge. Silicon is also hitting what engineers call the thermodynamic wall. To ensure a bit is unequivocally a 1 or a 0, a transistor has to operate at a voltage high enough to drown out the natural thermal noise of the electrons. Maintaining that digital determinism requires massive amounts of power. This graph plots the exponentially rising complexity of AI models against the hardware efficiency metric of compute per watt. As you can see, transistor efficiency has hit a flat ceiling. Transistors have essentially reached the absolute physical limit of their energy efficiency. With the International Energy Agency estimating that data center consumption could double by 2026, reaching 1,000 terawatt-hours, the energy cost of silicon is becoming a primary obstacle to scaling. To bypass this bottleneck, researchers are developing synthetic biological intelligence. Instead of fighting thermal noise in silicon, they are turning to wetware, where memory and processing are perfectly co-located at the synapse. Scientists grow neural organoids from stem cells directly over microelectrode arrays to capture electrical spikes. Companies like FinalSpark have put this hardware online. Today, researchers anywhere can use Python code to stimulate these living neurons and record responses via the cloud. This interface shows a game visualizer, where recorded neural activity is mapped directly to a digital Pong kettle. These systems learn through a process called active inference, where cells naturally adapt to minimize surprising inputs. Researchers at Cortex Labs successfully embedded organoids into this simulation, and within 5 minutes, the neurons learned to reliably hit the ball. This technology is transitioning from lab experiment to commercial infrastructure. Companies are now offering remote 24/7 access to these cloud neurons, treating living biological tissue as a standard billable computational resource. If lab-grown cell clusters can perform tasks, the ultimate economic prize becomes obvious: the 86 billion highly organized neurons operating inside the living human brain. We are approaching a concept called the compute arbitrage. If generating a computational data token in a silicon data center costs dollars in cooling and power, but doing it biologically costs pennies in nutrients, capital will seek to bridge that gap. To exploit that arbitrage, you need a physical connection. High-bandwidth brain-computer interfaces, like the Connexus system currently in clinical trials, serve as the hardware bridge between wetware and the digital cloud. These implants are currently designed to restore communication for those with motor impairments, but the roadmap involves doubling data rates with each generation. This creates a foundational interface capable of bidirectional, high-speed data flow. As bandwidth increases and clinical safety is established, these interfaces could extend beyond medical restoration. Industry programs are already positioning BCIs as a way to target a broad pipeline of neurological applications, potentially allowing the network to tap into cognitive cycles that silicon cannot yet replicate efficiently. However, keeping biological computers alive outside of a human body introduces a severe engineering reality. Wetware is fragile. The idea that organoid computing only uses 20 watts is a myth. To prevent the tissue from dying from hypoxia or necrosis, the cells require power-hungry microfluidic life support systems, including CO2 incubators, waste filtration, and continuous pumps. Even with perfect maintenance, these organoids only survive for a few months. Furthermore, reading their data is difficult. Biology is analog and inconsistent, meaning brain-computer interfaces struggle with high noise levels and poor signal stability compared to digital switches. While the individual neurons themselves are highly energy efficient, the mechanical and chemical overhead required to keep them functioning in a lab currently limits their economic advantage over silicon. Big capital demands traits that biology currently lacks: perfect modularity, exact predictability, and infinite reproducibility. For now, silicon holds the advantage because it doesn't decay when a pump fails. But developers are reaching the limits of machine learning due to its energy inefficiency. With silicon efficiency hitting a wall, the economic pressure to solve biological computing is growing. If a major tech corporation offered to pay your rent in exchange for 5% of your brain's background processing power while you sleep, would you take the deal? Let us know in the comments below, and subscribe for more